Good morning, YouTube. It's another episode of Chop Talk brought to you by Choppadong, your buddy in daily fantasy sports. And of course, Chop Talk's always brought to you by DFSArmy.com, your one-stop shop for everything DFS related, from PGA to NBA to MMA to all of the A's that you could possibly think of. We've got it covered if it is a DFS sport on Fanduel and DraftKings. So why don't you jump down to the comment section and do a couple of things for me. Click like, click subscribe, and click the link dfsarmy.com in the comments section. Use that coupon code CHOP because I'm here to tell you right now, a lot of you follow me when I put these videos out, and I really appreciate that. I'm trying to do my best for you in earning you discounts. That coupon code is 10% off of a grandfathered price that never goes up. And guess what? Prices are going up. They're going up inside the next week, probably within a few days. If you haven't jumped, you better jump now. Otherwise, you're going to miss the boat. And I don't want to see you miss the boat. This tool, this content, these coaches are amazing inside DFSArmy.com. So let's kind of jump into Chop Talk today. Break down the Tuesday slate, and I want to show you this is usable for all slates. And then we're going to put a little tip at the end that hopefully shows you a little bit more about the tool and what you're missing out on if you're not part of the DFS Army. Maybe later this week we'll jump into the Domination Station Optimizer, show you how to mix and match some of those lineups too, and once again show you what you're missing, because the whole idea is to grow the Army and to help people become better DFS players. Now, what's the first thing that I do is I go diving into pitchers. And the first thing I'll show you actually is, well, that's the blog. It hasn't been published yet, but I'm going to scroll up here. I want to show you these guys here. If you can see them on the screen, we got Walker, Buehler, Godley, Tanaka, Morton, Bauer, Skaggs, Flaherty. These bottom section of guys are not guys I'm using today. The top section is the guys that I'm using today. And the reason why is when we look at the combination of price, Vegas odds, and K-score, a little bit of DFS Army grade, what we're finding is that if we just try to compete with the pitcher on paper and try and find the best matchup possible using all three of those categories, we usually land on a pretty good pitcher. Now, I'm not an all-in type of guy. I don't usually run one pitcher across 5 or 6 lineups and take chances like that. I would hedge with at least one other pitcher, sometimes 2, and on really mediocre slates, I'll just use them all equally. But today, I settled on Walker Buehler, and the reason why, a lot of people are going Bauer, they're going to go Morton, they're going to go Tanaka. That's great. Pay up for pitching if you want, but here's why I want to caution against that. When you have an $11,800 pitcher, and he's got a minus 150 Vegas odds and just under 500 K-score at 497. I don't care what his DFSA graded. This is going to set the bar. This is going to set the benchmark for what we're looking for today. And that's fine if we can't find better, but we're always looking for better. So the first thing I'm going to do is, okay, that's the top priced pitcher of the day. Can I go down a little bit and find a better pitcher? Well, I've got a cheaper pitcher, so that's better in Skaggs. I go 125 from Vegas. That's worse. 471 in that's worse. So no, he's not better. He doesn't justify the savings to me. It's not competitive with what Bauer gets me. When I look at the 9600 in Charlie Morton, little worse but really the same in Vegas odds, little worse but really the same. But now I've got the $2,000 savings, so I'm going to like Morton better than Bauer. I go to Tanaka for $200 cheaper and I get a massive boost at Vegas. And a little bit of a boost in K-score. I'm up there with Bauer again. So I've got the same K-score as Bauer. I've got a way better odds of winning the game, and I'm $2,400 cheaper. Why wouldn't I be on Tanaka at that point? Buy Morton. I mean, Morton's kind of the same price-wise, so you could use him as a pivot in this case, but Tanaka's the better pitcher on paper. Now I look at Zach Godley, a little cheaper at 8,100. And I say 175. Okay, doesn't compete with the 305, but the 501 might compete. And then when I take the $1,000 off, oh, 175 is still pretty good. 500 is still pretty good. Okay, solid pivot. So now I've got Tanaka and Godley. These are my two pitchers. The other guys are somewhat playable, but Tanaka and Godley are where I'm going to go. And then I look at Buehler at 74. Well, let's go to Flaherty at 7,700. Minus 115, sorry. 514 is a great K-score, but minus 115, you're out. I'd rather pay up to 8,100 and get the minus 175 and a similar K-score. Yes, I know he's taking on Texas. Yes, it's a little bit of a concern, but it's not like Colorado sucks. You know? So it's kind of the same again, and it's just one of those things where I'm going to side with Vegas in that. That's where I'm going to use the tiebreaker, being the other things are fairly similar. I dropped down to Walker Buehler at 7,400. Is we're going to have to check game logs. Make sure he goes deep enough in games to actually get the win because they have quick hooks out there in LA. But when I look at Walker Buehler at 7,400, I see the minus 175, which is right there with Godley. 508's better than everybody at Flaherty on the K-score. So technically, I'm a little bit better. And then you're going to give it to me at a discount? I'll take it. So where I've wiggled all the way down off of Bauer, I've come all the way down to Walker Buehler. Walker Buehler's probably my lead. Tanaka might be my number 2. And then I can debate the Godley and maybe the Morton, whatever. But these are going to be about my top 3 pitchers tonight if I use anybody other than Tanaka and Buehler. And so you can see where the logic goes and where I'm finding these pitchers and how I'm finding some of these plays. And these are they're not all going to have good nights, man. A couple of these guys are going to implode. But a couple of them might have good nights. Just over the long run, over a couple of weeks, 2, 3, 4 weeks, generally speaking, this is going to pan out and it's going to bring value. And here's the other thing to remember when we're talking about bringing value. At 9,600, I need darn near 50 points. I need 45, 47 points to reach that 5x value number. It's an arbitrary number, but I only need 35, 36, 37 points out of Buehler to do the same thing. If I get 5x value out of Morton, great. If I get it out of Buehler, great. They're the same pitcher for me. They did the same thing. Buehler's got more room to go to 6x, 7x, 8x. Bauer and Morton do not. However, what Buehler's also allowing me to do is buy better bats. I can maybe get a Trout, a Mookie Betts, a JD Martinez, a Bryce Harper, somebody like that that's in a good situation. Or I can drop off those tall guys, those big guys, and maybe put 2 or 3 semi-studs in there. Freddie Freeman, some players like some Yankees, some players like that are maybe not $5,000 players, but are close. Or I can drop down into the high 3s and really put together 3, 4, 5, a good core stack, maybe like Cleveland or something like that, where I can jump in and really pop a good lineup of bats where I'm not so hamstrung by price. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to find the best overall pathway to value at all spots. Hopefully this is resonating with you. Hopefully this is becoming more or less beat into your brain over and over and over and over again, and the light bulb is slowly starting to turn on. This took years for me to finally work these types of processes out to where they make enough sense to me that I can communicate them to you and handle your questions and handle your feedback and talk to you and work through some of the questions you're going to have, because these are probably questions that I've had myself. Okay, now how do we find these guys? We go to the research station in dfsarmy.com, and I sort always, the default is sorted by DFSA grade. I sort by K percentage, and I go to sort by descending, and I throw all of my high strikeout pitchers to the top. Once it does that, now you've got Stanek, who doesn't get a long starting, he's a reliever in Tampa Bay. Bauer, Morton, Flaherty, Gray, Ramirez, Walker Buehler, Tanaka, Godley, Scott. Do you see where these names are coming from? These are the high strikeout pitchers on the slate tonight. These are the guys that have the potential. And then I'm going to match them up with K-score with the opponent K percentage per handedness. And I'm going to start looking at what K-scores add up. 31 and 20 is a 51, so that's a good score. 28 and 21 is a 49, so that's where Trevor Bauer's a 497. Okay? That's where I get those numbers from, which I've shown you before. But what I'm also going to do is I'm also going to scroll over here and find my Vegas odds. And I'm going to be looking for the big dogs, and that's where you find the 304 and the minus 175s out of the other pitchers. And I got to write them down, because no tool that you use is perfect in showing everything the way you want to see it. So I try to write them down. So I put them in my own little table, my own little spreadsheet that I share for you, because hopefully now you're seeing them side by side, and you can compare these pitchers with each other at a glance. That's the idea. Okay, now what I also do, if you've noticed, is I will take this DFSA grade and now I will sort it ascending, and I'll bring all of the schleps to the top. By bringing all the schmucks to the top here, I now see who I should be stacking against, and it's about the top 5 or 6 pitchers every night. So wonder why I come up with the soft pitching of Arizona, LA, Boston, Oakland, Cincinnati, Detroit being in good spots tonight? That's why. They're facing these bad pitchers. Why are these bad pitchers rated so poorly? Well, first of all, they're facing teams with decent offenses most of the time. Second of all, you come over here to the Sierra column and you look at the correlation between the red and the 5 Sierra, I guess a 5.0 is more of a benchmark in that that's what the ERA the guy should be pitching to. You know, that's what his ERA should be. So when I scroll over here and I look at what should be in their bigger stats, their ERAs, I'm seeing 5.82, 5.16, 3.5 with a 4.1, 4.2. What's it tells me? It tells me that ERA should be coming up. 4.5, 4.9, 4.9, 6.3 to 5.17. Yeah, he's got a 6.3 and it should come down, but it's only going to come down to a 5.1. It's still pretty bad. You're generally looking for these pitchers. The magic numbers, when these ERAs are low and the Sierra is high, you can start banking on the fact that the guy is going to start getting hit pretty hard. Okay, that's one thing. It's an older number that we used to use a lot. We don't really use that much anymore. But it correlates very well with DFS grade. And that's why these lower graded pitchers come to the top when you sort this way. And that's why they're easy stacking candidates. Now, we're hoping they run up against offenses that have great offenses or great bats in them. Arizona, Dodgers, Boston, Oakland. Are these guys running pretty hot? You might skip over Cincinnati and Detroit, Washington, Houston, Cleveland. Let's see what I'm doing here. These are great matchups tonight for these guys. These are guys we want to focus on. Okay? Now, what we do when we find the bats we want to focus on and we found the pitchers that we want to attack is we go into the trends tool and let's find the hottest hitters inside those offenses. Hopefully you've been writing this down. I'm going to go actually a little bit off track. I'm going to use a little bit of the implied run total. Let's go back and show you where I find that. If I scroll over here, I can take the Vegas numbers and I would go by the opponent because I'm listing the pitchers, right? Opponent runs and sort by descending. 5.9, 5.6, 5.2, 5.1. These teams are implied to score these. So these are the pitchers that those teams, those bats are facing. So again, these are the teams that have the highest implied totals coming out of Vegas. New York, Boston, Atlanta, Arizona, Oakland, Washington, Detroit, Cleveland. Okay? These are the teams we're going to try and focus on. I'm going to try and take the hot bats outside of these teams. Hopefully they match up. When I see Arizona, and I see LA, and I see Boston, and I see Oakland on this list that are also facing the soft pitchers based on that DFS grade, I get really excited. Now it's going to be hard to narrow these offenses down. So what do we have to do? We go into the Trends tab. Hopefully you wrote down New York, Boston, Atlanta, Arizona, Oakland, Washington, Detroit, teams like that. And now what we're going to do is go into this Trends tab. And I've already got the numbers set up. I sort by 350 and higher when it comes to last 7-day WOBA. And I kick out all the trash. I only want hot bats. 350 is not a great number, but it's pretty good. It will help you complete stacks. I really would like over 400. But if I run over 400, a lot of times I cut entire teams out of the mix that are in great spots. And I don't necessarily want to cut my nose off to spite my face. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dive into New York here. And I see Greg Bird, Aaron Hicks, Neil Walker. These guys are getting at bats, right? Shane Robinson's not getting at bats. Doesn't matter how hot he is, very small sample size. If he got a spot start, I might be liable to take a flyer on him at $2,000, especially if it completes a stack with these guys. But I'm mostly focused on Bird, Hicks, and Walker, which happen to be reasonably priced for Yankees. The other guys are running a little bit cold right now. They're not hitting a 350 WOBA over the last 7 days. They'll come back. But if they're only hitting a 300 or a 320 or something like that and they're $4,000, they're overpriced for the way they're producing right now. So I'm going to focus on those guys. I'm going to look at Boston, and I'm going to focus on JD Martinez, and I'm going to focus on Eduardo Nunez. Swihart last night, how many of you were on him? He was on the list. He was on the list for a spot start. 18 at-bats isn't terrible at 548. WOBA, guess what? He produced last night. For that $2,300 price tag, he produced. This method works. Okay? When you look at Atlanta would be next. Tucker's not getting at-bats. Flowers and Camargo. Look at the rest of them just kind of went cold. And it's not that Flowers and Camargo are all that great either. Now, Atlanta's in a great spot tonight. Freddie Freeman's great. Ozzie Albies is great. Acuna's great. If you want to use those guys, go for it. Just bear in mind you're taking a chance because they're not running hot right now. It's not a no-brainer decision. You're taking a gamble. Hey, that's how you win in DFS is taking wise gambles. That's a wise gamble, but it is a higher risk gamble than our next team in Arizona. Watch this. Look at all these guys pop in. These dudes are hot. Am I right? Look, they've also got great DFSA grades. They're facing one of the softer pitchers on the slate tonight. And on top of that, they're all running over 350. How do you beat that? Should be another chalky night for Arizona. Don't worry about that in baseball. There'll be plenty of people getting off the chalk. If the chalk hits, you're set up well. You'll differentiate elsewhere. You'll take some Detroit and mix them in, or you'll take Swihart, or you'll take, somebody Atlanta that's not running all that hot right now, and you'll mix them in. And if you connect on those lower owned plays, the chalk sets you up. The chalk gets you most of the way there. The lower owned stuff is what pushes you over the top. You don't need but one or two low owned spots anyway. You don't need a cute pitcher. You don't need some punt bat. You need to be smart with 90% of what you do and get a little freaky with 10% of what you do. That's how you win. So when I'm looking at Arizona, I'm looking at Goldschmidt, Avila if he starts, Souza, Escobar, Descalzo, Ahmed, John Jay, Kittle, Martin, the whole damn team. Call them up from AAA. They'll probably hit over 400. Hitting's contagious. The whole lineup is just cruising right now. And they get the 89-year-old Bartolo Colon and his walker with the little tennis balls on the bottom of it. I mean, is he even eligible to throw the first pitch out anymore? Or does he have to come off the mound to the grass line and throw from there? President George W. Bush could probably throw the first pitch a little better than Bartolo Colon right now. Now that I've totally jinxed him, we'll throw a no-no into 7 and I'll look like a total turd because karma's a bitch and it's going to bite me in the ass. It's just the way it goes. I like to call that hashtag Oppo Chapo if you've ever followed some of that stuff inside our slide. I'm telling you, whenever I really rave on it, really rag on a dude, he has a great game. So long shot GPP, throw Bartolo Colon in as your pitcher. I don't advise it, but you know what? I just jinxed myself, so. All right, Oakland, Davis, Chapman, Lowry, Martini, Kana, Fowler. These are all guys you can focus on. If these guys get at-bats tonight, great. But if not, these are the guys you're focused on. When I look at Martini, he was the leadoff last night. Great for $2,600. He's $2,500 today. He produced last night. Problem is he got subbed for in his 4th at-bat. Many people were on Oakland last night, and the top half of the lineup did. The bottom half of the lineup went off. I don't know how Lucroy produced last night and is no longer on this list. I'd put Lucroy on that list too. But anyway, I'm looking at the top half. This is generally speaking where you're going to go with your production, the heart of the order. Generally speaking, these are the guys that are going to do the producing. Last night was off. Hopefully it burned a lot of people. Are you going to go back to the well? Because a lot of people will bail on the train and say, well, it burned me last night. I can't do it again tonight. Go cry me a river, man. I'm telling you, these are the guys that are going to do your producing. And while they're running hot, take advantage of them, especially Chapman and Martini and maybe even Kana, who wasn't on the list last night, even though I saw him and I thought the dude's got a little power. What did he do? Knocked one over the wall last night. Telling you, DFS is an imperfect sport. That's why it's fun. I'm going to look at Washington as well, and then we'll start wrapping this up with the tip. Zimmerman, Murphy, Trey Turner, Soto, Harper, Eaton. Watch Harper. If he's supposedly on the trade deadline, man, I don't know. 4,200 is an awful lot to get a guy to late scratch. But anyway, Adam Eaton. These are all guys that are all hitting the ball pretty well. These are all guys that work for Stacks and they get Steven Matz. I mean, they're in a good spot. Will they produce? I don't know. But, take some Yankees, take some Braves, some Diamondbacks, mix them with some Washington Nationals. Whatever you got to do, mix and match and throw a few lineups out there tonight because something's going to hit. And it very often doesn't hit if you just have one lineup out there. You need to put 2 or 3 lineups out there, in some cases 5 or 6. A lot of the world's going to mass multi-entering stuff. We happen to have a coach inside DFS Army that coaches people on mass multi-entry. In case you're interested in learning that method. Now, Detroit's the last one I'll go to, and the reason why is I want to show you one name, and it's Jose Iglesias. I don't care about these other two all that much. I mean, yeah, Victor Martinez has turned it up a little bit lately, but down here, a $400 out of a $2,600 guy, Jose Iglesias bats in the bottom of the order. He's always low-owned. He gets Homer Bailey tonight. I'm not saying he's going to hit a home run, but I'm saying he might be able to do some damage for $2,600. He's a decent little one-off that if the lineup flips over a few times, he gets that 4th or 5th at-bat. So what we need to do is we need to jump into the tip of the day. And we're going to go back to the starting pitching tab for that. because I want to really emphasize what we were talking about last couple of videos with the double red, and that's what I'm going to probably start calling it now, is we're looking for double red. What we're going to do is we're going to find the bats. Okay, we saw the highest implied run totals, and we saw the Yankees and Boston and Atlanta, everybody pop to the top. Well, what we're going to try and figure out is the Colognes, the Mileys, the Arrietas, and whatever, who's struggling with both sides of the plate. No matter if they face a righty or a lefty, who can't get that guy out? Those are the teams we really want to target. I will forego a little bit of implied run total to put those guys in there. Just so happens today they really line up well. So a lot of the high implied run totals happen to be facing pitchers that struggle against both sides of the plate, but I still want to show you how to find it. What you do is you come to the starting pitchers tab. You scroll over all the way over to the versus righties or versus lefties. You don't even really need to sort it. If I went back and made sure that my DFSA grade was sorted by ascending so that the sucky guys come to the top, it's pretty much going to bring the suck to the top of those other columns too. So I'm looking at versus righties and versus, let me verify. See how the red came to the top? Now we're going to scroll over. We're going to look versus righties versus lefties. Look at WOBA. The WOBA against. All right, Bartolo Colon has given up a 358 WOBA to lefties and a 369 to righties. Double red. Suck. Okay? 300's got a little bit of gray or green in it, so it's not exactly great. It's not exactly something we want to target, but it's not terrible. You know, Wade Miley's in play to stack against, but stick to the double reds and you're putting the odds in your favor. Come down here, 343, 341, Gaviglio, double red. Homer Bailey, double red. Maybe Matz. Come down. Those are the big targets that I'd be using. So if I've got Matz, Gaviglio, and Colon, right? Matz, Gaviglio, and Colon. Arizona, Oakland, Washington. Those would be my three preferred offenses tonight. I had a little bit of New York, but we saw they only had 3 playable players in there. A little bit of Boston, we saw they only had a couple. Atlanta, we saw was cold. Arizona's interesting. I would really like to. Well, we got Arizona listed against Colon. Duh. Oakland, we got them listed against Gaviglio. Duh. And then Washington. Washington's our third man out. If you just made 2 or 3 lineups, you're stacking the odds in your favor. If you take one of the best pitchers on the slate, in your opinion, don't follow me. Use my methods and make up your own damn mind. That's what we do inside the Army. I'm not giving you lineups. I'm not giving you plays. I'm telling you how I find these guys, and then you go off and you find your own. A lot of times they're the same guys. But you want to run a Bueller, fine. You want to run a Tanaka, fine. You want to run, take a chance on Zach Godley, fine. Morton, fine. Do it. What I'm telling you is whatever pitcher you build your foundation around, pitcher or 2, and you want to build just 2 or 3 lineups, use those offenses of Arizona, Oakland, and Washington and mix and match. Maybe you take another way that you can do this is you can take Arizona. Whoops, we need to be in the trends tab for this. You can take Arizona, you can hold the control button down and click turn Oakland blue and then come turn Washington blue. And now you've got only those 3 guys, only those 3 teams. So you want to run some Goldschmidt, Avila, and Souza, go for it. And then come down and pick up Davis, Chapman, Lowry, go for it if you can afford it. These are ways you can divide up these stacks. Zimmerman, Murphy, Turner, fine. Look at their WOBAs, 350, 360 is not terrible. They're on the list. Soto at 468 might be better. So if I ran Soto, Murphy, Zimmerman, and then mixed him with, Souza, Escobar, John Jay? What's wrong with that? I don't know which combination of these is going to work for you. What I know is these guys are all hot and they're going to have good nights. Some of them won't. A lot of them will. And you're going to have to mix and match a few times to find a solid mix. Because if you only did it once and you got lucky tonight, great, you got lucky. I showed an example to my VIPs today where I ran 20 lineups last night. And I cashed in 16 of them if I was running in the 50-50s. Okay, that's a good night. But only 9 of them would have hit the triple ups. Only 2 of them hit the top 10%, and not one of them hit the top 1%. Not one of them would have won a 100-man league yesterday. out of 20 lineups. So out of 20 lineups, I just went 20 days if I only build one a day. 3 weeks without winning a 100-man league. That is hard to swallow. If I just was playing 50-50s and I cashed in, say 6 or 7 in a row, but nothing else, that's okay, but it's not exciting. And I hit a couple triple ups along the way, and I can't hit a big league, and I can't hit a big GPP, and I can't hit it. I'm getting frustrated, man. It's been 3 weeks. Guess what I did? I took the 3 weeks yesterday, and I crammed it all down into one night. I don't give a crap because I came out, a couple of bucks under break even? Well, that's a pretty cash safe way using multiple lineups. But using those multiple lineups, if I use 10 lineups or 20 lineups, and 8 or 9 of them do well, it only takes one. It only takes one to do really, really, really well. And if I run 20 lineups a night over 100 or over 5 days, that's 100 lineups. I'm going to have a lot better chances of hitting 4, 5, 6 really good lineups in 2 months than you are if you take all 162 games of a baseball season to get to your 100 lineups. You've got to compound it. This game is on a small edge that you're riding, and it's got ups and it's got downs. And with that small edge, it's barely better than flipping a coin. But you need to make sure that you're taking a lot of shots at it to hit that big prize if that's what you're chasing. If you like talking like this and you like learning more about DFS and you feel like you're getting the information that you're looking for, you need to go into the comment section. You need to click subscribe. You need to click like, and you need to become a VIP and come inside my coaching room here and start talking to me. Our other coaches, we have 20 other coaches. They're always talking baseball, basketball, NASCAR, PGA, everything. You need to do it, and you need to do it now before prices go up in the next couple of days. I'm Choppadong. This is Chop Talk. Come back and see me again sometime. DFSArmy.com. Use code CHOP to save 10%. I'm out.